Claire walked home from her late shift at the clinic when she saw a small figure lying still on the sidewalk. Her heart raced as she hurried closer and saw a little girl no older than 7. The child's face was pale, her breathing weak, and in her tiny hand she held a broken locket. Claire knelt down and checked her pulse. Relief washed through her when she felt it faint but steady. She called for an ambulance, staying by the child's side until help arrived. While waiting, Claire opened the locket, hoping to find some clue. Inside was a picture of a serious-looking man in a suit and an emergency phone number carefully engraved. Claire dialed quickly, praying someone would answer. After 2 rings, a deep voice came through. "Hello? This is Ethan." Claire's voice shook as she said, "Sir, your daughter is unconscious on the street. She needs you at the hospital." There was silence for a moment on the other end. Then the man spoke again, with a crack in his tone. "My daughter." Claire gripped the girl's hand tightly, promising herself she would not let her face this alone until her father arrived. The hospital lights glowed bright when Ethan rushed in, his chest tight and his mind in chaos. He had left an important meeting without a word and driven faster than he ever had. When he entered the emergency room, his eyes searched until they found a small figure lying on the bed. His daughter looked fragile, her hand wrapped in wires and her face pale against the pillow. Claire stood beside her, gently brushing hair away from the child's forehead. She turned when she sensed someone near. Ethan's tall figure filled the doorway, his face tense yet broken. "Are you her father?" Claire asked softly. He nodded. His voice lost for a moment as he stepped closer. He reached for his daughter's hand, trembling as though afraid to hurt her. Claire watched him carefully. She had seen powerful men before. This one seemed to carry a heavy sorrow behind his sharp features. "She is stable now," Claire said, "but she needs care and love around her." Ethan looked up at her, his eyes dark and unsure, as if hearing those words stirred something deeper inside. Claire could see the fear beneath his strength. She stayed by them quietly. As the hours passed, Ethan stayed close to his daughter's bed. The steady beeping of the monitor filled the room, but his thoughts were louder. He remembered the nights he had spent buried in work, telling himself he was doing it all for her. Yet now, seeing her so small and weak, he wondered if he had failed her in the most important way. Claire checked the child's vitals and then sat down across from Ethan. She noticed how he held his daughter's hand but avoided looking at her too long, as if he feared breaking down. "She needs more than doctors," Claire said gently. "Children need someone who is there every day." Ethan's jaw tightened. "I have given her everything. The best schools, the best home." Claire met his eyes. "But has she had you?" The words struck him harder than he expected. He leaned back, the weight of truth pressing on him. His daughter's small fingers curled weakly around his thumb, and his chest ached. Claire looked at him, not with judgment, but with quiet strength. She saw a man trapped behind walls of power and money, walls that kept him from his own heart. The morning sun slipped through the hospital blinds when the little girl slowly opened her eyes. Ethan had dozed off in the chair beside her, still holding her small hand. The moment her lips moved, his eyes shot open. "Daddy," she whispered. His throat tightened as he leaned close, brushing her hair back gently. "I am here, sweetheart. I am not leaving you again." Tears blurred his vision. For the first time in years, he let them fall freely. Claire watched from the corner, her heart warming at the scene. She had seen many reunions, but this one carried something powerful. The girl's weak smile lit up the room, and her small fingers clung to her father. With all the strength she had, later that day, as Ethan sat by the bed, a nurse rushed in with a newspaper in her hand. "Mr. Ethan, this was just released." She laid the paper down. The front page showed a picture of the accident scene, with bold words questioning his role as a father. Ethan's eyes darkened. His business rival had clearly pushed the story into the press. Whispers would grow, and soon his empire would feel the weight of scandal. He looked at Claire, who stood steady, her calm gaze holding his. "They will twist everything," Ethan muttered. "They will say I failed her. They will say I am unfit." Claire stepped closer. "What matters is not what they say. What matters is what you do now. Your daughter needs to know she comes before every deal and every headline." Ethan's chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. He had built his life on control and strength, but here was a moment where money and power meant nothing. His daughter needed him, not as a CEO, not as a wealthy man, but as a father who would stay. As evening settled, the girl drifted back to sleep, her hand never letting go of his. Ethan glanced at Claire. She had stayed through the storm without asking for anything. There was a quiet courage about her, one that drew him closer with each passing hour. Deep inside, Ethan knew a choice was coming, one that would decide not only his future, but also the bond tying him to his daughter and to the woman who had stood by them. The next morning, the hospital felt different. Sunlight poured through the windows, and the air carried a sense of change. Ethan sat by his daughter's bed, his hand wrapped around hers, while Claire checked the chart. The little girl was stronger now, her cheeks less pale, and a soft smile appeared when she saw her father still there. "You did not leave," she whispered. "I will not leave again," Ethan replied firmly. His words were not just a promise, but a decision. He had spent years hiding behind walls of work and wealth, thinking that was love. But now he knew love was being present. Love was holding her hand through the night. Love was choosing her above every deal. The door opened, and a group of reporters tried to step in before security stopped them. Ethan rose, his eyes steady. He asked them to allow the press inside for a moment. Claire looked at him in surprise, but stayed close to his daughter. When the cameras pointed at him, Ethan spoke with a clear voice. "Yesterday, my daughter was lying unconscious on the street. I almost lost her, and it opened my eyes. I have been a CEO. I have been wealthy, but I have not been the father she needed. I will change that from today. I thank Nurse Claire for saving my child's life and for reminding me what matters most. This is not about money or power. This is about family and love." The words shocked everyone in the room. Reporters expected denial, excuses, or anger, but instead they heard truth from a man known for silence and pride. The cameras flashed while Claire's eyes filled with emotion. She had not expected him to expose his heart so openly, but she could see how much it meant to him. After the reporters left, Ethan sat down again, feeling lighter than he had in years. His daughter looked at Claire and reached for the broken locket resting on the table. She placed it in Claire's hand with a shy smile. "Keep it with you," the girl said. "You stayed with me when I was scared. You made me feel safe." Claire's breath caught as she closed her hand around the locket. Ethan's eyes met hers, and in that look there was more than gratitude. There was connection. There was something that pulled them together in silence. Later, as the hospital discharged his daughter, Ethan walked out holding her hand. Claire walked beside them, unsure of what her place would be, yet feeling tied to them by something invisible. Ethan looked down at both of them and spoke with quiet certainty. "We are walking out together, and I hope we never walk apart again." The three of them stepped into the sunlight, bound by a bond that neither wealth nor power could create. It was a bond of soul strings, strong enough to hold them through every storm ahead.